Now, y'all, please bear with me because I need to eat something, and these pickles are what's left out of the pickles that I have in the refrigerator since I didn't eat all my Velocity dill pickle spares. So, yeah, without further ado, let's get into the story time. Y'all, so whenever I was a freshman in college, I was away from home. Now, mind you, I wasn't like buck wild, okay? I thank the Lord that my mom raised me well enough for me to not go buck wild whenever I went to college. But whenever I went to college, I was like, you know what? I just want to go party because I didn't do that when I was home. And on top of that, I wasn't a drinker and I didn't smoke. So I went to the parties, I went to the club, literally just to dance. Mind you, also my freshman year, I had no car. So because I didn't drink and because I didn't smoke, whenever we went out to the parties and I knew everybody else drank and smoked, I was like the designated driver. So because I was lit at these parties, I basically got in free. My crew got in free. All this stuff like that I was promoting. Like, oh my gosh. Now, mind you, I was still, involved in my gospel choir at my school, and I was still very involved in church. And this is when I was very lukewarm, you guys. So the fact that I was doing this, I was going to the clubs Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and going to church on Sunday. Keep this in mind. These are good, but these aren't like elastic. So y'all, there was two clubs to go to. There was two clubs to go to in the college town, but I went to the less popular club because the most popular club to go to at that time was always getting shot up. Okay, so you have like college nights, which are Thursdays. Fridays and Saturdays is normally for the city if they don't have an event going on for college students, for Greeks, things like that, yada, yada, yada. And this one particular night, it was all drinks were free. The whole city was free all night. Okay? So this particular night, the club was going to be more packed than ever just because everyone got in for free. So boom, me and I having a car, but still wanting to go, I had to find a way. And of course, since I was promoting for the club, I was like, you know what? I got to tell people about it anyway. So I ended up running into this person. We're going to name him Abby. Abby was in the cafeteria with us. We call it the Fresh. He was in the Fresh, and I was like, hey, yo, it's a party going on tonight. All drinks is free. The whole club is free. The whole city is free. And you know what? I think about it now. I was such an enabler because we were all underage to drink. But because I knew that I was a promoter for the club and I was a lit person at the club, I could get them the drinks for free. And I could also find a way for them to get the drinks, period. But I was like, yo, it's like it's going to be a party tonight. You ain't got to pay for nothing. I'll be the designated driver so y'all can drink, da-da-da-da-da. And I ended up getting like 10 people to come with me. So after I got the green light from Abby that we'll be taking his car, I called a couple other people and I was like, hey, y'all come out tonight. And they were from my hip hop dance group. And I was like, hey, y'all come out tonight. It's going to be lit. Everybody's going to be there. It's free drinks. Everybody free. Pop out. And so, of course, they pop out. And another friend of mine, we're going to name him Dave. Dave ended up coming too. And I met Dave through my Goo Crew week. And we ended up bonding. He ended up being from out of state, so he didn't have any family or friends here. But we ended up bonding, and because he did, we ended up being really close. Before I continue with the story, I have to really emphasize this key part right here. While I was getting ready for the club, I called my Nana, and my Nana she's a preacher, and she also has a prayer line. And I called my Nana, I'm like, Nana girl, I'm finna go to the club, girl. Please keep me in your prayers. I'm laughing about it because we have that type of relationship. And she's like, okay, Zoe, be careful. But, it was a lady on our prayer line, and she just called in, and she was praying for, her grandson and her family because she just lost him to being an innocent person getting shot by a bullet at the club. And in my head, I'm like, that's not going to happen to me. But I listened to her anyway. I'm just like, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Meanwhile, I'm still getting ready for the club. She's like, just be safe. And I got off the phone with her, and I'm hurrying up to get ready because I'm like, hey, Abby, Are you at the door? Are you at the door? Come pick me up. Come pick me up. I'm ready to go to the club. So about 5 of us are in one car, and my friends that I hit up from my hip hop dance group are in the other car, including Dave. And when we get to the club, because my hip hop dance group didn't come until like later on after we came. Whenever we get to the club, I, get everybody their drinks that wanted drinks, and it's just a great time. And as we're getting turned up in the club is also getting more and more and more packed. So y'all, my friends, including Dave, finally make it. Dave finally make it, and the club is so packed. The music is hitting, y'all. I can't even remember who the DJ was at that time, but I remember literally being in the center of the club, and I was beside Dave, and I'm looking at Dave. I'm like, we're having such a great time. We're having such a great time, because I was just happy to be there. I'm a dancer. I literally went to the club to dance, but it was just the package that I've ever seen the club in the first place. And then I was just like, they're playing the right music. So it's just like, it feels like a great night. It seems like everything is going to plan. The moment that I tell Dave we're having such a good time, all of a sudden I see everybody in front of me, because we're literally in the middle of the club, in the middle of the pack. We're not in a section or anything. We're literally on the dance floor. I see everybody running towards me this way. So of course, if you see black people running, what you gonna do? Run. So y'all, I start running too. Mind you, I had on boots. I had on boots with heels. But girl, running in heels ain't nothing for me. Okay? I'm a pro at that. However, I start running. And whenever I run, somebody ends up stepping on my heel. And the moment they step on my heel, I fall. And 50 other people fall on top of me. And that is the moment that I saw my life flash before my eyes. You know how if you ever seen Baby Boy, and whenever Baby Boy was like in slow motion from beginning to end to the point he was now, that is literally what happened to me. I saw my life flash from before my eyes, beginning to end. And I just remember being on the ground and my body feeling numb. And I'm like, God, I don't want to be the person known to go to the club Thursday, Friday, and Saturday and go to church on Sunday. So I finally snapped back into reality, and I guess it was just the strength of the Lord. I finally gained strength in my body, and I was like, I have to get out this club. I have to get out this club. So, mind you, 50 other people are still on top of me, and I'm maneuvering my way because I'm literally on the bottom of everybody, and I started kicking people in the face. I didn't even care. I didn't even care. At that point, I was in survival mode. So I get up and I'm trying to find everybody that I rode with, because first of all, this ain't my car. And second of all, I don't have the keys. So I run into Dave, but Dave didn't ride with me. I rode with Abby. So I'm trying to find Abby. But while I'm talking to Dave and I find Dave, I'm like, Dave, what just happened? He was like, I think some niggas got to fighting. And then I was like, well, why are they acting like, because the club was acting like, oh, it's nothing. We just gonna keep on playing music. And they played music like it was nothing. Like we just didn't see, like we wasn't just running. They was playing like everything was fine. Regardless of what the club was doing, me and my crew was finna dip, because the moment that I just had with the Lord and the flashbacks I just had, I don't want to experience that again. So we finna go. I'm running to the car. And I finally run into Abby. And before I run into Abby, it's this guy who's trying to calm down his friend, and his friend got a drink in his hand, and he keep on talking about, I'm finna kill him. I'm finna kill him. And in my head, I'm like, God, please don't kill him before I leave out this club, because I don't want no parts of it. So I get Abby. I get most of everybody except for the girl that also rode with us. And we're heading out. We're leaving out of the club. And before we get out the club, people was taking their time leaving out the foyer. So I start pushing people out the foyer area. And I run to the car. And as soon as I get in the car, we finally found the girl that also rode with us. And the same thing ended up happening to her that happened to me, where she got stampeded on, but she ended up breaking her ankle. The moment she got in the car, and the moment that Dave got in the car with us, because he couldn't find the people that he also rode with, shots just went everywhere. Shots went everywhere in the parking lot. We had to hold our head down. And I don't know how I just clicked on the car, and I I just dashed off. But the moment I did that, I was just thinking, my Nana was right. My Nana was right. And I didn't want to tell her because she would have said, I told you so. It's just so crazy how the night started off, how the day started off versus to how it can just switch in a heartbeat. And before we even got out the parking lot, a girl ended up getting jumped on like by 25, I want to say 25, 20 girls right outside the foyer of the club before they went to shots everywhere. But it was so chaotic. And I remember getting back to my dorm and I just boo-hoo cried. And I was just like, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. And I know the Lord was looking at me like, because even though I was very ignorant, God was still there with me. And this ain't even the craziest part. I don't have a car, right? But because I was in a gospel choir at my school, I had reached out to them. I was like, hey, I want to go to church with somebody on Sunday. And this girl said she was going to do it that Sunday. So she did. So still being terrified, I got up that next morning. I got ready for church. And the girl from my gospel group, she let me know that she was outside. And we ended up heading to the church. Y'all, tell me why the church ended up being literally down the street from the club. Like you had to pass the club to go to the church. And I was just like, well, I've never been to this church before, but I was open to whatever the sermon was because I was just grateful to be alive the next day. So boom, after the praise and worship, tell me why the sermon ended up being the definition of Zoe. He literally got up on the pulpit and he was like, today our sermon is going to be the meaning of Zoe. And if y'all don't know, Zoe means life. That is the definition of Zoe. And I was just like, this is all coming together. But that was literally a sermon meant for me. And I know it was a sermon that God needed me to hear. So the fact that I could have been dead the night before, hours before, literally, and God gave me grace and mercy, and even my Nana giving me a warning and I didn't listen to it. But because I had my free will and I decided to do what I wanted to do, I found out what could possibly happen and God still gave me mercy. So yeah, it's a crazy story. In conclusion, you don't have to be like the world. And sometimes doing your own thing over God, God's just going to allow things to happen. But even then, even though I went to the club just to dance, I was still in the devil's playground. So technically, the devil had dominion over anything going on in that area. And I just so happened to experience what could have happened, what did happen, and how I was graced regardless of being in the devil's playground. Now, that don't mean to do it again. And if it don't happen the next time and the next time and the next time continues to do it. But that does mean that when you know better, you do better. And when people around you is trying to say, hey, be careful, or this ain't the best thing to do, they're saying that because they care and have your best interest at heart.